There's something I want you to see. You up for it? There's something I want you to see. You up for it?
Yeah. We'll call him Blueback.
Gropers can live until their 70s. Old and wise. They live in the same place most of their life. They don't tend to leave. The only way to make sure that he's safe is to keep him a secret.
What's going on?
Your entry to the bay is too shallow. You need to dredge the reef.
These fish are meant to be protected.
How can they do this, Mum?
Stealing from our future.
You and your mum really think you can stop this, don't you?
Those men, they wanted to kill him. What if he doesn't come back? What if I never see him again? My name is Abby Jackson, and I'm 15 years old. I've been studying this bay since I was 8.
The whole reef will be gone.
We'll see about that.
The diversity of this marine life, it's a gift to us all. He'll always be safe with me.
Nice to meet you guys.
You too.
You too.
Very nice to be. Big fan of your work, especially in this film. It's wonderful. Did you just to kick things off? I guess did you guys was environmentalism an important part of your growing up, your lives in Australia growing up? Or was it like an integral part of that? Or is this like kind of more of a newer thing for you guys?
Yeah, both of my parents are sort of in the arts and very sort of environmental. So it was a part of my childhood for sure. And yeah, so, and I mean, a lot of my family lives on the south coast, so the ocean specifically has been a huge part of my nieces and nephews' sort of childhood. And I sort of wanted to make this film because it reminded me of them, and it was hopefully inspiring to other people to have the same care that we need for our environment.
Yeah, I would say probably less so with my upbringing, but definitely came to the fore when I had kids. So the last sort of 20, 25 years is definitely something a lot more aware of and more conscious of. But as a young kid growing up in the suburbs, the thing I mostly remember was recycling aluminium cans.
So
like
funny.
yeah,
Right.
that was the beginning of it for me.
Right. Well, it makes sense. I mean, we become more, I guess, worldly or politicized as we get older. We feel more connected to the world. And as a kid, you're kind of in your own little world. But we don't all have mothers like Abby's mother does in this film, right? For better, for worse. And so here's another question I actually Mia for you, and that is, does it require? How did I write it here? Oh, does it? Yeah, require a different approach to when you're acting underwater? Because I was thinking. There's so much acting going on underwater here, and you see it more and more in different films. That you see it also like Avatar now, and I'm wondering what that's like.
Yeah, well, I think I learned the hard way that your face doesn't really correspond to your mental state the same way when you're underwater. And so I was a little bit more like tentative and cautious about these scenes, but you know, you don't really have much of a choice. Like we
You have to act
goggles
through
on.
it. You have to
and-
like act through the water. Is that what you meant? Like,
Well, yeah, like I remember when we were filming in the pool, I mean, you know, some of the underwater scenes, I would just go down and I mean, literally all you feel is like the water going and I'd come up and Rob would be like, great. Be like, I don't know what I did, but it's good.
Well, you didn't drown. That's good. You didn't,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, as long as he was happy. So,
And also the fish, right? This
Yeah.
Western blue groper. Did you guys have a nickname for it, like they did on Jaws or something?
I actually can't remember. I only had one day with the fish. The fish was this amazing puppet.
It was a puppet, right?
Yeah, so it was a real puppet, and they had
Animatronic.
yeah, people you know, they would build this like sort of platform over the water that the guys that were maneuvering it would sort of walk across the pool, and you know, as it was sort of swimming, and I mean, its gills would flap out, and it was just,
Unbelievable.
yeah, I've never seen anything like it. It was, and I think that was just such a great call of Rob's to go with a puppet fish as opposed to CG fish, because I mean, it made a difference to us as actors, and I think that you can sort of tell, like, you know, in the film somehow it just sits in the picture in a way that visual effects sort of doesn't sometimes.
Mm-hmm. No, I'll take your word for it. I haven't acted again opposite either, to be honest with you. But
I hope you get the chance.
thank you. Yeah, Eric. So, and your scenes are largely on deck of a boat. So, what's been your experience with that? Since you already explained you grew up in the suburbs, so probably
yeah,
I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, we're in an amazing part of the world. We filmed this in a place called Bremer Bay, which is quite a remote part of Western Australia. Really rugged and really beautiful, and really difficult for the crew and our director making a film on the water. And a vast majority of the film, as you saw, is either on the water or underneath it. So it was a lot of fun, and just you know, it's always such a privilege. I'm sure me is the same. Like you film in so many different locations as an actor, and you go to so many different places, and a lot of times you're in places that you wouldn't otherwise have gotten to for whatever reason. And so to spend some time in that part of the world and it be your job was just, you know, absolutely incredible. And it was just a great choice by Rob, and obviously Tim Winton, who wrote the source materials from that part of the world, and has an intimate knowledge, and Rob wanted to honor that. So yeah, it was great to be there.
So what is it your I guess how much do you try to get gigs in Australia? Is that something as for just for personal reasons, or is that like a really a nice thing when that occurs because you get to see people maybe that you wouldn't otherwise?
We were just talking about that, how when you're in America, or at least when I'm in America, being really envious of people going home to their own bed after filming. So
Oh yeah.
it's such a novelty. I actually still haven't had that experience. I always miss the Sydney jobs. But even being in Australia is great, like when we were in Western Australia, which may as well be another country.
Yeah, it does seem
quite
like a
far
novelty.
away, just in terms of, you know, traveling there.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a novelty. We were just talking earlier about how, you know, there's actors that we know who just spent their whole lives getting out of bed and going to a studio and working and going home. And there is a part of it that does feel special. I've got to say, whilst there's a homesickness side when you travel, there is something. I do love being on location. I don't even know if I'd like to mix the two, you know. I like not having any distractions. It's fun being on location when everyone else is on location, and this is definitely the case. Like the whole crew, you know, in this little town, and so it always feels a bit of an adventure.
But you have children?
I do, yeah. I have 2 adult children, yeah, 20
they're
and
adults.
23.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so they don't care if you're home or not. Okay.
They said, I didn't even know you'd left. How long were you away for?
Right. Exactly. And exactly. Well, one other thing I was thinking about with a film like this, because I see a lot of documentaries, and you know, And I love, of course, but there's a lot of obviously environmental documentaries. And I think one pitfall for a lot of films, and not just documentaries that are touched on, is, you know, they're polemical and there's a message that gonna they're making, and there's no doubt you're gonna walk out knowing that message, because, you know, they're gonna probably try to get you to sign up and do something, because, you know, so it's, whereas I think this one, which is called Blueback, which is, by the way, the name of this Western blue groper that Abby's character is a younger girl in flashback names the fish. I'm going to play the trailer at the beginning so people will know what the film. But I just appreciated that, and maybe you could speak a little bit about it. That I appreciated that this was not such a film. It was really a very personal story as well, with both of your characters. You know, it's all about relationships. It wasn't just purely about, you know, the bad guys and the, you know, but this was a personal story about one's relationship to the environment.
Yeah, to the
Maybe.
environment, and also mothers and daughters, and
Mothers and daughters.
friendships, and
Right.
you know, it's kind of impossible to separate any of those things. You know, the influence from Abby's mother on her, and the influence of Dora on the environment and on that particular bay. Yeah, it's all sort of interwoven in this story.
And it just feels very, very natural. I think because of the nature of their lifestyle in the film, in the story, it's not like you know, we're not transporting people from the city into this environment. They're just such a part. You know, the ocean is such a part of Dora's world, and the way her mother introduces her to the ocean and to what lies underneath the surface is just really beautiful and natural. It made me really envious actually when I watched the film. I was like, oh, what a great childhood. This just seems so incredible. And I think Rob's done a great job. And so you feel so immersed in it. You can't not be moved by the nature. And then by virtue of that, you can't not want to try and help it. So to get back to what you were saying, I think the story does a really clever job of just making you feel like you are a part of it and you are kind of responsible for it. And it is a beautiful thing to be amongst.
And it's those emotional connections that sort of compel you to act on things. So,
Yeah, right. Well, and you both do a lovely job, and it's a very moving story. It's called Blueback. It opens in theaters on March 3rd, and it stars among its cast Eric Bana and Mia Wasikowska. So I really do love. I hope to have another opportunity to talk to you guys together, though.
thanks. We'll have to.
It's not easy pulling this off.
Well, you have to do more films together.
Thank you.
Or I guess I'll do it separate as well. But it was very nice meeting you both, and I wish you luck with the film.
Nice to meet you too.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.